Do you believe that race should be considered in employer hiring practices?
I do not believe that white people are the only qualified people for jobs.
I didn't say that. Nobody said that. I asked you if race should be considered in employer hiring practices. And you're not going to intimidate me by slandering me as a racist.
You're also, I did not call you a racist.
No,
you're not going to intimidate me by insisting that I called you a racist.
I'm asking you a straightforward question. It's a yes or no question. Should race be considered in employer hiring practices? Yes or no?
When a witness comes before Congress to lecture the American people about bigotry while aggressively defending racial preferences and corporate quotas, someone has to strip away the word salad and expose the truth. A conservative congressman just delivered.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for holding this hearing, and thank you to all of the witnesses for taking the time to be here. We certainly really appreciate it. Dr. Harper, I've got a couple questions for you. Just starting out, do you believe that ageism is a form of bigotry?
Yes.
You do? Yeah, I thought so because you wrote an article saying that ageism in media discourse about Biden's re-election is an issue. Do you still believe that ageism was an issue in the past election cycle?
I believe that ageism in any form and in any context is a problem.
Do you believe that Americans who were concerned about Joe Biden's age were bigoted?
I did not say that in my article, nor do I claim that now.
You said that ageism is a form of bigotry.
Ageism is a form of bigotry, but I did not say that in my article. You cannot misrepresent my idea.
Okay, well, why don't you provide your explanation for that? Ageism is a form of bigotry. People who were concerned about Joe Biden's age were ageist. How do you square that?
I'm less concerned about Joe Biden's age. I am more concerned about young people and older Americans being systematically denied opportunities and access because of their age.
Do you think that Joe Biden's age had a relation to his cognitive decline?
That is outside of my area of expertise.
Do you need to be an expert to determine whether an 82-year-old man who is clearly visibly declining mentally on camera, if that has anything to do with his age?
I'm not a cognitive scientist.
You're not? Okay. Of course you're not. Do you think those Americans were right to be concerned about Joe Biden's age?
Again, you're missing the point. The point is about the ageism itself. Okay. It isn't about Joe Biden.
We're going to move on. Do you believe that America should be a colorblind society? For instance, should people be treated differently based on their race? It's just a yes or no question.
It's not a yes or no question.
It's a yes or no question.
It is as I said in the beginning of my testimony, America
yes
has not done right by indigenous peoples, by black people, by Asian American and Pacific Islander people.
Should people be treated differently based on their race? Yes or no?
People should receive the services and the support and the remedies that are owed to them.
That they should be treated differently based on their race.
They should receive the remedies that are owed to them because of the systemic racism and injustice.
Do you believe that race should be considered in employer hiring practices?
I do not believe that white people are the only qualified people for jobs.
I didn't say that. Nobody said that. I asked you if race should be considered in employer hiring practices. And you're not going to intimidate me by slandering me as a racist.
You're also, I did not call you a racist. No, you're not going to intimidate me by insisting that I called you a racist. I'm asking you a straightforward
question. It's a yes or no question. Should race be considered in employer hiring practices? Yes or no?
I believe that diversity ought to be considered as companies and other organizations attempt to reflect their customers, our country.
I'll take that as a yes. Which race do you think should be preferred?
I do not think that a single race should be preferred.
Well, you just said that you believe that race should be considered in employer hiring practices.
I don't know. There's going to be a transcript of this hearing. I didn't say that in that way.
Okay. Why don't you explain what you believe?
What I said and what I believe is that the demographic composition of workplaces, our nation's military, and so on, our Congress ought to reflect the diversity of the United States of America.
Racial demographic composition. Racial demographic, is that what you're saying?
Racial, gender.
Okay, so race should be a factor in employer hiring practices. Yeah, that's what you're saying, is it not?
organizations ought to attempt to match the diversity of
you're
their...
hopping around the question.
No,
you don't want to
I am
answer
answering
it.
quite straightforwardly,
Who
as a
gets
matter of
to
fact.
determine which races are preferred?
I already told you I don't have a single racial group.
You just told me that you believe that the racial demographic makeup should be taken into account in hiring practices.
And it should be reflected in all levels of companies and other organizations.
Okay, let's talk about college admissions. If two different children are applying for college, let's say one is white and one is black, and there's one slot available, should they be evaluated based on the same objective criteria? Test scores, for instance.
Are you familiar with holistic admissions?
Should they be held to the same standards regarding test scores?
I am a proponent of holistic admissions.
It's just a yes or no question.
Yeah, no, I can't answer that question for you as a proponent of holistic admissions.
Got it. I'll take that as a no. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
The questioning started by exposing the left's total hypocrisy on media narratives. When asked about ageism and whether Americans were bigoted for noticing Joe Biden's glaring cognitive decline on live television, the witness tried to twist the definitions, dodging around the obvious reality. The congressman didn't let her hide. He shifted the spotlight straight to the core of the woke agenda. The obsessive push for identity politics over merit. When asked the most basic foundational question in a free society, should America be a colorblind society where people are judged by the content of their character rather than their skin color? The witness refused to give a straight yes or no. Instead, she tied herself in knots, trying to justify racial remedies and systemic grievances. That's when the trap snapped shut. The congressman demanded to know straight up, should race be considered in employer hiring practices? After frantically dodging and tap dancing around the question, the witness finally admitted what the left really believes, that organizations should actively engineer their demographic makeup based on race and gender. When pressed on how that works in practice, asking which races are supposedly preferred and whether a white applicant and a black applicant should be held to the same objective standards like test scores, she hid behind academic buzzwords like holistic admissions. But the congressman wasn't having any of it. He translated her corporate doublespeak for every hardworking American watching at home. No, they shouldn't be held to the same standards because the left wants to replace merit with managed racial outcomes. This exchange exposed the absolute cancer of DEI and identity politics in modern institutions. Real equality means treating every single individual as an individual, not as a checkbox on a corporate quota sheet. When the left gets cornered on their own discriminatory logic, they always resort to semantics because they know the America